Hello and welcome to Book of the Mouse Club, episode 75, Tuesday, May 24th, 2022.
Morning, monsieur.
Where are you off to?
The bookshop. I just finished the most wonderful story about a beanstalk and an ogre and...
That's nice. Marie! The baguettes! Hurry up!
I'm sorry, but how can one possibly pay attention to a book with no pictures in it?
My dear child, there are a great many good books in this world without pictures.
I almost bounced clear out of the book. Some bouncing, huh?
Come home or make myself known.
J. Thaddeus Turtle, Esquire. Have you never met him? You will find his story in this delightful little book, The Wind and the Willows.
I've come to return the book I borrowed.
Finished already?
Oh, I couldn't put it down. Have you got anything new?
Welcome back. I'm your host, Courtney, and I'm joined, as always, by the best friend that I would pick to take on a magical getaway, my lovely co-host, Emily.
Ahoy, listeners. Ahoy, Courtney. Today we're going to take an island cruise to a land of magic and make-believe.
Yes, today we are excited to preview a new novel releasing in just a few days on June 7th, 2022. Joining us is young adult author Crystal Cestari. Crystal has fulfilled her childhood dream of becoming an author and certainly is proof that wishes do come true for Disney fans as an author for Disney Hyperion Publishing, with her previous novel Super Adjacent and our current selection of Happily Ever Island. Additionally, Crystal is author of the Windy City Magic series, which takes place in her city of residence, Chicago. We can't wait to geek out with her about our shared Disney fandom and love of literature. Welcome, Crystal.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Crystal, before we start talking about your book, we want to get to know you a little bit better. So in your book, Happily Ever Island, it is set in a new resort of your creation. But to learn some more about you, what is your favorite current Disney resort and theme park?
So I grew up in Southern California, 20 minutes from Disneyland. So I am forever a Disneyland girl. I was really lucky to be able to go to Disneyland a lot as a little girl. And I never even made it to Disney World until I was in college. And so while I definitely love the Disney World vibes, Disneyland has my heart forever.
Oh, that's so special. I just made my first trip to Disneyland this spring. So I'm glad I got to see your land.
That's so good. It's like, I feel like Disneyland just gives you a hug when you enter. It's so cozy and wonderful, and I love going there. I was able to go last fall, spent my 40th birthday there like a grown-up, and it was really awesome.
Emily just went for her 30th. So.
My 30th. We're there to be Disney kids at heart, to celebrate all of our milestones. But speaking of that, in your book, your character Madison, she grew up with Disney through her grandma Jean, which you referenced. So I'm curious, how were you brought into the Disney fandom? Was there a family member that really brought you into it, like your character?
Oh, yeah, for sure. My mom was a big Disney fan, and I actually have pictures of me and my mom together at the park when I was like a toddler. She took me a lot, and she and my mom and my sister, we went to the parks all the time when we were still living in California. Like, that was our special thing for the three of us to go. Sometimes we would bring a friend with us too or something like that. But we spent a lot of time there together. And when we moved to Chicago, we would still try to make annual trips back to Disneyland, even though technically being in Chicago, Disney World was a little bit closer. But, Disneyland just had that pull on our hearts. So we would fly back there as often as we could.
That's great. And we're really honored that you allowed us to preview your book before it's released this summer. That's really exciting. So we are going to do our best today to not give away any Happily Ever Island spoilers, since your book is only a couple weeks, 2 weeks away from being released. But I do want to start off our discussion of your book by reading the synopsis on the back, just to help frame our discussion and give our listeners a nice preview of what is to come.
Sure.
All right, so here we are from the back of Happily Ever Island. Head in the clouds romantic Madison and driven pragmatist Lanie are unlikely best friends, but the two would do anything for each other. So when Madison's life starts to fall apart, Lanie agrees to join Madison for the test run of Disney's newest resort experience during their first college spring break, Happily Ever Island, an immersive vacation destination where guests can become their favorite Disney character for a week. Madison decides to go as the iconic princess herself, Cinderella, with Lanie as bow-wielding Merida. It's not Lanie's idea of fun, but she knows Madison needs her, and besides, she could use the break from her strenuous workload, and maybe she'll get to shoot some things. But once on the island, Lanie and Madison begin to drift apart. Madison finds herself either missing out on or messing up all of the enchanting moments she has dreamt of her whole life, and is forever running into her annoyingly perfect and distractingly cute vacation coordinator, Val. Meanwhile, Lanie unexpectedly finds herself captivated by the magic of all that is Merida. She strikes up a secret romance with Prince Charming, but there's no telling whether he's just playing a part. Soon, the friends will be swept up in a whirlwind week of laughter, tears, and more than just a touch of Disney magic. So, to start us off, what is the inspiration for a story like Happily Ever Island?
Well, so my first 4 books were published by Hyperion, which is Disney's imprint. And from the very first book that I worked on with the team, I definitely put out the Disney vibes that I was super into writing something with Disney characters or Disney property in some sort of way if they were ever to find a fit for me. So a couple of years ago, I got an email saying that they were working on a new project that revolved around a fictional Disney theme park, and they thought that I would be a good fit. And when I got the original proposal, I started crying because I love Disney, but what I love the absolute most is Disney parks. So having the opportunity to create my own Disney theme park, I mean, the phrase dreams come true it barely covers it. I mean, it was such an amazing experience. So coming from their point of view, you know, they were looking for a new way to incorporate Disney characters and just kind of have a playful spin on the theme park experience.
Awesome. And it really immersed us just from the beginning. And I think part of that has to do with the map. We absolutely love our fictional maps in literature. And you were kind enough to send us a postcard with a map of Happily Ever Island, which I recently shared on our Instagram page if listeners want to take an up-close look there. And I was curious, did you kind of have the layout, the map of the island envisioned before you wrote the story, like the lands that you wanted to include, or did it develop as you wrote and came across different scenes?
I would say it was kind of half and half. You know, like I had a lot of discussions with Disney before we started the book about what kind of characters would be featured on the island. You know, there's so many Disney characters, and the whole premise of Happily Ever Island is that you get to live action role play your favorite character. And there's so many so we had to find a way to kind of reel it in a little bit. So we focused on having like the main the princesses be the focus of the island. So all of the different princesses have their own section of the island. So as I began writing, started kind of creating like a mental map for myself, and to make sure that I was staying consistent as I was writing all the different scenes, I drew a map for myself. Now that map is super embarrassing and not cute at all compared to what the artist was able to put together. Actually, they sent the artist the map that I drew as kind of a template for her to jump off of, which is so embarrassing because my drawing is super terrible and hers is so amazing. She actually did the cover too. So when they first sent me her first draft of the map, again, I started crying. I cried a lot when I was working on this book because, I mean, I love book maps, right? I mean, who doesn't? Like, they're so amazing. But I have always been obsessed with Disney theme park maps. I remember going to Disneyland as a kid. They had this map of the park in the locker rooms off Main Street. And I always looked at it with such awe. Like, this is so beautiful. Like, what a cool piece of art. And now they sell those types of things. And I have one of those maps on my wall. So to have a map of creation that like I worked on, I mean, it's just too much. I get, I'm tearing up just thinking about it. Like it's just such an honor, and it's so beautiful, the final result that came together.
What was so cool about the premise of your book too is with the opening of the Galactic Star Cruiser, this is very possible that Disney will continue to create fully immersive experiences. So while this is currently a fictional resort, I can see it happening.
I can too, and I have a feeling that these things were timed on purpose. But I think I know I would visit something like this. I mean, the chance to like live out like your Disney fantasies. I mean, I spent most of my childhood in my bedroom pretending I was Belle or Ariel or Jasmine. So being able to do it for real, I mean, that would be a once in a lifetime experience.
So let's talk about this experience. If we all got to go, in the opening of your book, at the front, you have the contest survey that Madison fills out to enter to win her dream vacation. So I wanted to have all of us share. Which character would you want to become on Happily Ever Island? Crystal, you can start us off.
Okay, so I have thought about this a lot, obviously, and I feel like I would owe it to my childhood self to pick Belle, because I was extremely obsessed with Beauty and the Beast when I was growing up. I think that movie came out when I was in like second grade, and this is embarrassing, but I'll just admit it. I, for some reason, as a 9-year-old kid, or however old you are when you're in second grade, I just thought that Belle was like somehow based on me, because like she was a brunette and I was a brunette, and she liked books and I liked books, and she liked to sing and have adventures and I did too. So I just felt this kinship with Belle. And when I would go to the parks and see Belle in like parades or in Fantasmic or something, I would always just think, that's going to be me someday. Plus, I've always wanted to wear that yellow dress. I mean, it's so incredible. That would definitely be my childhood pick. As an adult, I also am so drawn to Rapunzel. I love Tangled. I just love Rapunzel's spirit. And I also have a bit of a crush on Flynn Rider. So that would be fun.
You are preaching to the choir with Belle here. Emily and I have both shared our love of that princess. And it's funny you mentioned the brunette thing, because we are brunettes as well. And this is going to sound like really cliche, but it's one of those like representation matters at its simplest form. We were brunette children and she was a brunette princess. And I think that's initially what drew us in. And she inspired us as kids to become avid readers. So I think I would want to be Belle as well, mostly to just enjoy that beautiful library that the Beast gives her. If I couldn't be Belle, Ariel's not my favorite princess. I like the Little Mermaid. I would just want to be a mermaid though. Like, I liked that you had characters. It was a group of sorority sisters, and one of them was Ariel, and the others were playing her sisters. So I think it was just fun to have a mermaid tail and swim around. But I know that was also an excursion option, so maybe I get to do both.
Yeah, the whole vibe of the island is that no matter what character you're playing, you're able to take in some moments from all of the different stories. So I thought that was a really fun way to keep it super interactive and to just fully immerse yourself in a Disney experience.
So I guess my second pick, since we all can't just be Belle together, there's only one role on the island at a time. I think my second pick would be Anna and Arendelle. I just love how quirky and funny Anna is. And I feel like I talk the same way she does, where like you say something, but then you like re-narrate what you say over yourself and then ask like rhetorical questions all at the same time. I feel like I heavily identify with Anna on that front, and I think it'd be fun to play off of a sister, having an older sister myself, so I think that would be really cool. And I get to play with a snowman all day, so I'd love to see how they would figure out Olaf and Arendelle section of your island. So we all agree we want to be Belle, but I'm glad we all had someone else to share as well.
For sure.
Well, what I also really enjoyed within the book was Madison and Lanie's friendship. Just because I get to host a podcast with my Disney best friend here. So related to just the strong female friendship there. And I'd love to know, how did you create these two characters? Did you take any inspiration from yourself, your own family and friends?
Definitely. So I would consider this book to be a friendship story first that also happens to have romances, because the main relationship of the story is about Madison and Lanie's friendship. And interestingly enough, I feel like Madison and Lanie are both very reflective of who I am, but in very different ways. Like Madison is for sure my Disney side. You know, she is a Disney fanatic. She knows everything about it. She's super hyped up about it. But, you know, she also has a little bit of an aversion to growing up. You know, she is unsure about her future. She's not sure what she wants to do. And she's not even sure if she really wants to grow up, because growing up seems like something boring to her and something that she's not super interested in. And while I am a grown up, there is a part of me that is, I mean, I am very, very young at heart. And I resist certain areas of being an adult. I think we all do, right? Adulting, there's some things that aren't fun. So that part of Madison is definitely me. But Lanie also has a lot of different parts of me. Now, Lanie is not as much of a Disney fan. She's not anti-Disney, but it's just not really something that she grew up with. It's not something that has been around. So she's not as familiar with the stories and therefore feels kind of uncomfortable with this whole immersive experience to start. Lanie is working through some issues with her anxiety, which is something that I have as well. I have anxiety. And so we talked about that a lot with her character and how she works through anxiety, different techniques that she does to keep herself going forward. There were a lot of things that I included in the book, or things that I have learned on my own mental health journey, things that I've learned in therapy, like different breathing techniques and grounding techniques. And I incorporated those in the book to, you know, and I really connected with her in that way.
I think Courtney and I would have a similar response. So we talked about this before coming on the show today. We're like, which character do you think you identify with? And we agreed with you that we're like, our fandom love is definitely Madison, but we very much identify more in like our true lives and true selves with Lanie.
I'm type A.
Very much so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Madison has the confidence and the outgoing spirit that I wish I had. And Lanie is more of that introvert that I definitely identify with.
Something else that I loved about Madison is that she's an effortlessly queer character. And this is our first book where we've read a queer character on our podcast. So that was really exciting for me, especially teaching LGBTQ plus studies. I know my students would love this book because it's not a coming out story. This is a wonderful story where she is queer and it's great and no one pressures her about it. It's a natural part of the story.
Yeah, for sure. Right from the start in talking with Disney, this was a priority on both sides of the table, is having a queer character and a fun and lighthearted queer romance. I love Madison's romantic journey. I think it is so fun. I had so much fun writing Madison falling for Val and including all of these really iconic Disney moments for the two of them was so special to me, for sure.
Yeah, this was probably the first time that I had read something along those lines within a Disney thing specifically. I think that's a great show of the progress that they're working towards in that regard. So I was shipping Madison and Val the whole way through.
Me too. I loved these two super Disney mega fans feeding off of each other. It was so much fun to write.
Along those lines, a theme that we immediately saw in the book was to not be afraid to love what you love. And that's not just about any romantic sort of partners. Madison continuously defends Disney adults and their passion, and Lanie learns to step into the magic we all love so much as well. So why was that message important for you to have in the book?
Well, I think first of all, like, you hear the term like Disney adult, and I think like some people really embrace it and some people view it as a negative thing. And honestly, I feel like life is just too short to be embarrassed about the things that you like. There's the term out there of guilty pleasures, and why should you feel guilty about being happy about things? When I go to the parks, especially Disneyland, I feel like it is a part of me. I do feel like part of me comes home, and that is important. Life is too short, honestly, to be ignoring things that you like or pretending that you can't like them. Focusing on things that are important in your life and recognizing them, giving them attention and space is something that I've definitely been focusing on, especially in the last few years. I mean, we all went through the pandemic and it was hard, and being able to have those things that bring you joy, I mean, that's what we're here for. And so I really wanted to champion that in the book for sure.
As a high school teacher for the age group you're writing for, I thought that was also an important message, because I do see it in my students already, where sometimes I'll ask them, what are the books you're reading? Like, I go over to their desk and immediately just flip to the back. I'm like, what is this? I want to know. Or I ask them about, t-shirts or something. And you see, it's that age group where they start feeling like they have to know how everyone thinks about them. Your peers matter a lot in this adolescent stage of identity. And I see my students get defensive. I had a couple students tell me, because I have Disney stuff in my classroom, I have this beautiful plaque that a student gave me that is a wooden cutout of a cast member name tag, and it says Miss McDermott, Northwest High School, which I love that she gave me that. And she was so excited. This was a student last year who found a teacher who also loves Disney as much as she does. And when students this year saw that, and I have a Mickey cup for all my pens, I have a Mickey calendar. I had a couple students who were like, oh my gosh, you really love Disney too? And I tell them I did the Disney college program, and that when I go to Disney, and they want to talk to me about it. And I see them, though, not necessarily talking to all of their other friends about it. They'll like come to my desk, like one or two of them together. And I love that message, though, that like, it's okay to love these things. And I think also finding Disney adults too at that age, that they're like, oh, I look up to this adult, or there's someone in my life who also loves Disney that's outside of my family, making that connection that like, it's okay. So I really love that message in your book.
Thank you. And yeah, I feel that for sure. I mean, I have 2 teenagers, and so I see that vibe of wanting to fit in and not making too much of a splash anywhere, but I try to communicate in the way that I talk to them and just the way that I am, that, I mean, you got to be you. You got to embrace what you love, and don't be afraid of it. And if somebody else doesn't like it, well, who cares?
So that's great that you have 2 teenagers at home, because I wanted to ask, how do you get in the mindset for writing for young adults?
Well, again, I feel like I am very young at heart. So sometimes it's not a huge leap. I think a lot about the person I was in high school and also in college, because Madison and Lanie are starting college. They're in their freshman year, and I really thought about myself at that time and things that I was struggling with, and hopes that I had, dreams that I had, and tried to focus. That's like the starting point for me when I'm thinking about my characters. And now sometimes I will go to my teenagers for advice on certain, words or anything like that, trends. But in general, I try to stay away from a lot of trends and things, because they're just happening so fast that by the time the book comes out, a reference that you make might not be relevant anymore. I snuck around that a little bit in this book. Like I put from the start that the characters weren't allowed to have their phones on the island, which was really great, because that's definitely something that's a part of teenage life that wasn't for me. I didn't have a phone growing up as a teenager, so knowing those aspects of teenage life can be a little bit trickier.
Yeah, I can imagine, maybe 10 years ago they'd be posting to their Facebook, but now they'd be posting to TikTok, and so you don't want to date yourself in that way because it should be something timeless.
Exactly.
Well, you've published additional books with Disney Hyperion prior to this one, and we'd love to know, what have you learned as a writer as you've gone through the publishing process several times?
Oh man, so many things. Each of my books has been such a completely different writing experience. Happily Ever Island is my fifth, and I think every book that I have been through has taught me a lesson, not only in like building my craft and building my experience as a writer, but also just teaching me about myself and the kinds of projects that I want to devote my time and talent to. I was in such a different place in my life when my first book came out 5 years ago, and I even wrote it, 2 or 3 years before that to the time where I am now. And what I really learned is, or at least a focus for me, is that I want to be writing things that make me happy and fill me with joy. I love writing about Disney. It was an absolute dream come true. I'd love to write about Disney again. But in my next projects, what I want to make sure is that I'm super connected to the material. I always want to make sure that the stories that I'm writing are stories that I would want to read. And I like writing stories that are happy and uplifting and that take readers on a short break from their lives. Something fun, something light, something to look forward to that is going to make you smile. That is my goal with my book.
Well, you absolutely achieved it for this one for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, Courtney and I, again, we discuss the books as we read. We have quite a long text thread for every episode that we prepare for. We were saying, we're like, this is the book. I want to read this at a pool, at a Disney resort, or at the water park. Like, I want to take it to my beach house. Like, it has that vibe completely that I'm just in my happy place.
I absolutely finished it yesterday poolside. I was at a different staycation in the Orlando area. We were at the Gaylord Palms, but also picturesque, and I had a little Mai Tai by my side, and I was like, this is it. This is summer reading vibes all the way.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That is so perfect. And yeah, I do think this story is a really great summer read. I mean, it's very lighthearted, it's fun, but also, I mean, they're on an island in the Florida Keys. It's warm, it's sunny, it's beachy. I mean, it's definitely a summer read for sure. Maybe pair it with like a Dole Whip or something.
Yes, I am heading to Key West for my 30th birthday this summer, but I wish I was heading to Happily Ever Island instead.
I love that.
I feel for Lanie, though, and her Merida, Scotland wardrobe in the Florida Keys.
Oh my gosh.
That made me laugh when I read about that in the book. And she's like, and a wig? Are you crazy?
I know. Merida's hair is so out of control. It feels like it would weigh 1,000,000 pounds if it was a wig. I thought about that a lot, especially because, the woman who plays Merida's mom thought a lot about like, oh my gosh, would they have to wear like a bear suit? Like that would be so sweaty. And so I just had the character say from the start, no, I'm not doing that.
That was also an interesting contrast, quickly going back to your characters, of how both of them were playing like daughters or stepdaughters for Cinderella, but their interactions with the guests who played their parents were very different as well. They had quite different experiences on this island.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For Madison, she being Cinderella has to, have the stepsisters and the evil stepmother. And at first, I think she's super psyched about it because the people that she is paired with, like they are committed to the characters. They're very serious. But that can be really intense when it goes on for days and days and someone is legit being evil to you. So That was definitely fun to play around with, to write a actual villain who is playing a villain in the story. And then for Lanie, her story starts off where she's having some relationship issues with her mom. And so for her to connect with a motherly figure on the island who kind of helps her with some of those things, I thought was a fun thing to play around with and help her with her development.
So what's interesting about having a preview of your book is we don't often get to talk to writers and authors on our show before their book comes out. So I'm curious, where is Happily Ever Island like in this overall publishing process? And what does this final stage look like of these coming weeks? Your book's been written, you've got cover, you are trying to get it onto bookshelves. Like, what does this end process look like?
Well, it's so exciting, right? Because it feels like you're getting to a finish line. This book has been, 4 years in the making. And so to get to the last 2 weeks is so exciting, right? I have so much energy around it. I just the other day got my final copies in the mail. So I have the final hardcovers that have the map inside of them. And they're so beautiful. I mean, they came out even more incredible than I could have imagined. I mean, along the way, as an author, you get to see the drafts of how the cover is coming along and how things are going. But to see like the final result in your hands, it's so emotional. But now that I have them, I'm definitely reaching out to people who might be interested in helping me to promote the story and just letting people know that it's coming out. So doing things like chatting to you lovely ladies and posting a lot on social media and doing giveaways and scheduling some appearances. I have a book launch party coming up, things like that, just to continue to build hype around the story.
Well, we are very grateful to be included among those because, as we said, this was such a delight, and we'd love to know overall, how are you feeling as this release date rapidly approaches?
I'm so excited. Being able to write this story was such an honor for me. I mean, being able to create a theme park, I mean, truly was a dream. Every time I think about it, I get emotional. I'm getting emotional about it right now. And I really just hope that Disney fans will enjoy the journey as much as I did. I tried to include as many references for super fans to give them little Easter eggs to find, but also keeping it something accessible for everyone. So there's really the two viewpoints into the story. You've got Madison, who is going full nerd and geeking out about all of the things. And we've got Lanie, who sometimes doesn't know the different references. She doesn't know if she is doing things correctly or not, but she's still able to enjoy the story. And so I hope Disney fans and even, Disney casual fans alike will be able to just go on a journey and have a fun time.
I appreciated the backside of water comment that's like pretty early on, because the last that I rode on Jungle Cruise, I was definitely the only person when we went behind it that screamed with the skipper, the backside of water. And I was like, oh, they're learning. But it's fun when you do get a boat that they all do that. But I appreciated that. I saw that dynamic of how it can be approachable to everyone, but that one made me laugh.
Okay, good. That makes me happy.
So we've interviewed several authors on this show who have written for Disney Publishing, and they shared the amount of scrutiny that their writing receives to be sure facts and branding are correct. And we're curious how your experience was working with Disney, talking about all of this branding and these characters that go into your island.
Yeah, for sure. So I know that a lot of work happened before the story even came to light behind the scenes that I wasn't involved with. There are people at Disney who are like ambassadors for the different characters. And so they each needed to sign off to make sure that the characters were being represented correctly, even though the actual characters aren't in the story, just making sure that all of the details were correct. If someone's dress is blue or if it's green, making sure that I'm using the right adjectives to describe them to, keep that consistency with all the different character traits. But I also was super fortunate in that I got to have a call with Imagineering, and we talked through all of the different elements that really go into creating a Disney theme park. We talked about how the immersive experience is not just about the things that you do, but the things that you see and what you hear, what you taste, what you smell, and how people come to Disney theme parks at different levels of understanding of what they are going to be experiencing and for different reasons. So that was really showcased through Madison and Lanie, because Madison's going into it with a not critical eye, but just very aware of all of the details. She's able to pick out the different things, whereas Lanie is just kind of along for the ride. But both of them need to be entertained, and that is something that Imagineering is very careful to layer in. We talked a lot about how the island could operate similar to the Disney Cruise Line, in that there would be activities scheduled throughout the day for the guests to take part in, and they could either choose to be in those activities or not, and that it would be helpful for all of the different people there to kind of have groups that they go through the experiences with, so that they're able to make those connections. So a lot of the same characters kind of start to show up at a lot of the bigger moments, so that they have that familiarity and bonding experience. So talking to Imagineering was so cool, and I had to work so hard to keep it together because I was just so excited about everything that they were saying. I could have talked to them for days and days and days.
I bet. I feel like a lot of the authors that we've talked to have mostly shared their experiences with the Disney archives, but you might be the first that really got to work so closely with Imagineering. Was there any moment for you that felt like, oh my gosh, this is unreal? Aside from probably the whole thing, but like any super magical moment?
The whole thing was amazing. The woman who I worked with primarily, her name was Wendy Anderson, and she was an Imagineer who helped with bringing Galaxy's Edge to life. So she talked a lot about that process and all the different phases that park went through. But then, she just would make little references to things like behind the scenes things at Disneyland that I would be like, wait. Can we talk about that more? I want to hear more about that. She's like, well, let's focus on your story. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, let's focus on the story.
That's so cool that you ended up with like a crash course in how theme parks work and the thought process of Imagineering to inform your book. Like, I don't think we recognize that Imagineering has such an influence in other aspects of Disney other than just creating their theme parks. Like, they're involved with authors, they're involved with music. It's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. When I found out that this was going to happen, I mean, I truly had to keep my fangirl self in check and keep it professional, because I wanted to ask so many questions that had nothing to do with what I was doing. They're such cool people, so amazingly talented.
I think all of us would have our inner Madison like shining in that moment and tell her, like, Lanie, keep it together. So while we're really excited for our listeners to get their hands on Happily Ever Island and meet Madison and Lanie, can you tell us more about your other books, which are available now? So if you're excited, listeners, for Happily Ever Island, you should get to know Crystal through her other works as well. So can you tell us about your other books?
Sure. So my first 3 books are part of a trilogy called the Windy City Magic series. The first book is called The Best Kind of Magic. It is about a girl named Amber Sand. She was born to a family of witches, but she herself did not end up becoming a witch. But she got one highly specific magical talent in that she can see true love. So she's a magical matchmaker who helps soulmates find each other. So it is a magical, lighthearted romance that takes place in Chicago, which is where I'm from. So that is is my first trilogy. And my fourth book is called Super Adjacent. And I describe it as an Avengers-style superhero adventure, but told from the girlfriend's point of view. So it asks what it would be like to date a superhero and kind of goes through different perspectives, two different people dating different superheroes and working through like what would be really fun and exciting about it and what would be really scary or sort of a bummer. Like when, you know, if you don't get a text back from your boyfriend or girlfriend, does it mean they're ghosting you or does it mean they're dead? So that's a fun story. Also takes place in Chicago.
Very fun. They sound like great reads, so thank you for giving us a little more information on them. As we wrap up, we always like to ask these two questions for our authors. So first up is, what is a personal favorite Disney book that you'd like to recommend?
I have the Disneyland Nickel Tour book, which has all of the postcards from like the history of the park from the opening day until I guess whenever they don't really do postcards as much anymore. I absolutely love that book because not only does it showcase all these really special moments in Disney history with postcards. You know, I'm a paper person. I write all of my first drafts longhand. I just like that connection of pen to paper. So I love that book and showcasing all the postcards. And it has a ton of Disney history in it as well. It's a really beautiful book.
That's really cool that you write longhand. So I have a quick question. Are you a cursive writer or a print writer?
I think at this point it's kind of like a hybrid of the it's definitely, I guess, print focused with a cursive flair. I
like that.
Yeah. A lot of my letters kind of at the end just kind of mush together. And as if when I get more tired and my hand gets tired, it definitely becomes more cursive-y.
Emily is an avid journaler.
I'm also an exclusive cursive writer. My students get really surprised when they get their feedback from me the first time and they're like, what is this? And I always tell them, if I can learn to decipher your handwriting, you can learn to decipher mine.
For sure. It's a lost art, cursive. So I think that's good to share.
So our final question we always ask, you are such a veteran with 5 books under your belt. What advice do you have for others who aspire to write a book someday?
I would say, to keep going. You don't have to have formal training to be a writer. You just have to have your ideas and you have to have your passion behind it. Writing is a long process. It's a solitary process. Sometimes it can be hard, and sometimes it feels like the story's never going to be finished. But believing in yourself is the way you're going to be able to see that story through, and pick something and spend your time on something that you love and you believe in. Write a book that you would want to read yourself, and I think that will fuel you to keep going.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, as well as your time. Just want to give a little preview for our listeners of what's up next for us. Is a first on the Book of the Mouse Club, a poetry book. We will have another author interview with Nebraska State poet Matthew Mason. Matthew recently published a book titled At the Corner of Fantasy and Maine, Disneyland, Midlife, and Churros through the Old Mill Press. And here's a description of this unique collection. At the Corner of Fantasy and Maine is about more than Disneyland, Midlife, and Churros. It's about how our heart is sometimes more reliable than our memory, and how places that are touchstones in our lives stay with us in ways that don't always seem to make sense. And, well, it's about Disneyland, Midlife, and Churros. So we look forward to diving into that poetry collection and talking with Matthew about that in June. In the meantime, though, you can keep up with us at Book of the Mouse Club on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Book of the Mouse. Email us with comments or ideas to bookofthemouseclub@gmail.com. And please be sure to review us on iTunes so others can find our podcast and read and listen along with us. You can keep up with me, Courtney, on Instagram at GreatGuthsby and Twitter at Courtney_Guth.
And you can keep up with me, Emily, on Instagram and Twitter at the same handle, at Emily_McD. And Crystal, where can our listeners connect with you? And very importantly, where is the best place to buy your books?
Well, I'm most active on Instagram at Crystal Cestari. Also, my website is crystalcestari.com. If you head over there, you can sign up for my newsletter, and I will send you a postcard from Happily Ever Island if you're interested. The book is available right now for pre-order anywhere that you prefer to buy books.
Awesome. Well, I would highly encourage our listeners to do so. Kick off your summer with a great summer read. As we close out our discussion today, we always like to end with a quote. And as our guest of honor, Crystal, what have you selected for us?
So I was super honored to be able to include a Walt Disney quote in Happily Ever Island on one of the opening pages. To all who come to this happy place, welcome. That is definitely the feeling that I have about this book. I hope if you are able to find it, that you have a wonderful time, a magical time. That would make me so happy.
We absolutely did, and we were so pleased to welcome you to the podcast today. So thank you again for sharing your time with us and giving us a wonderful preview for our listeners as well.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so wonderful.
Thank you again, Crystal, and to all of our listeners, keep dreaming, Disney adults. Go pick up Happily Ever Island.
The The Mouse Club has no affiliation with the Walt Disney Company. The views and opinions expressed by hosts and participants are theirs and theirs alone. They do not represent the organizations or companies they happen to work for.